Socrates Garrett Live every Tuesday on WeBelieveDigital.com. Socrates talks politics, finances, and social issues that affect the Black community and so much more. Phenomenal guests and engaging conversation. Straight talk, no nonsense topics that are informative, educational, and inspiring. Socrates goes live with politicians, church leaders, business owners, and others. The time is now, talking to you about us. Socrates Garrett Live every Tuesday on WeBelieveDigital.com.
Good evening. We're back in the studio this week. It's been a tremendous week. Here in Mississippi, we've had some very, very peculiar weather. It's been raining most of the month. We've not had this much water in Mississippi this late early in the summer in a long, long time. And then today it was 97 degrees. That's real hot. The humidity was off the chart. So to the construction workers out there, I know I have a crew of about 65 people out there. Want you guys to stay hydrated. You know, we try to make sure that we get out of that sun by 3 o'clock when it's getting to be at its most hottest point so that we can get our folk home safely. We got to work, we got to roll, we got to do the things that are necessary, but we got to be smart about it. We got to start earlier and then get out of there earlier as this heat wave continues to rise in the South. I want to say hello to my many fans across the country. Happy birthday to my sister Ethel Hathorn in Sacramento, California, in her early 80s. We love you dearly, darling. I hope you had a happy birthday. Look forward to see you when you get home. I want to shout out to my friend Tony out in Los Angeles. He and Mike Landry are making a presentation before the National Football Foundation out in Los Angeles, California today. I know you're watching this show out there, and I hope everything's going extremely well. I see that Lillian in Atlanta hit us up just then and said she was waiting on the show to begin, and we're eager to do that. Once again, We Believe Digital, studio that's owned and operated by African Americans right here in Jackson, Mississippi, in the heart of the Deep South, where many times, you know, you are surprised at the talent that we grow and the number of people that grow out of Mississippi to go on to do outstanding things in the community. And it's with that attitude that we have our guest tonight on our show. Our guest tonight is Charles Smith. Charles is going to tell us a little bit about himself, and we're going to talk about the work that he's doing in this community and how he sees that we can move this state and this country forward. Charles, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Socrates, man. I am so happy to be a part of this show.
Right.
Yes.
Well, tell us a little bit about Charles Smith. I know a little bit about you because I get to see you on Sundays at church at New Horizon when the Bishop Ronnie Crudup, senior pastor over there, allows you to come up, and you seem to always go off script. Tell us a little bit about Charles.
And I'll probably do the same thing today, too. That's me. Again, Charles Smith, I've been in the insurance business for 42 years, and I've been children's pastor along with my wife, Gail Smith, for over 30 years. We have been married for over 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah, didn't want to mess that up.
Right.
We have 4 beautiful daughters, 7 grandchildren, and we are just enjoying life.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. Now, you know your wife, Gail, is my homegirl.
Yes.
You know, her father was, I went to Velma Jackson, and of course, her father was a prominent person in Canton, Mississippi, and throughout the state, quite frankly. And he would referee and call a lot of the basketball games. He never did any favors for us when we came to play Rogers High back in the day. But I know the family well, a beautiful family, you know, with a beautiful history.
I married up. Yeah. I didn't deserve what God gave me, but I took it.
Okay, and you're taking good care of
Hey,
her.
I'm trying to take good care of her. Yes.
You're doing that because I see her, follow her a little bit on Facebook from time to time, and I think she probably owns more shoes than anybody in the world. And you probably get some of the bills for that.
Yeah, we have about 5 or 6 shoe racks now, and she's always putting up other shoe racks.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, your work at New Horizon Church is really interesting, and it's a serious matter. Tell us about your ministry there and how you got into it, and how things are changing today.
Well, we're at New Horizon Church International. The Bishop Ronnie Cruder saw something in me at Mount Galilee. My wife and I are one of the charter members of New Horizon.
Okay.
And he introduced me to the children's ministry, puppet ministry, and we just took it and ran with it. It was a calling on my life for it. He saw that, and we just made it happen. And it's who I am. I mean, make no doubt about it. There are a lot of people who've been called to ministry that need to be in the pulpit. I don't. I don't want to be. I know exactly where I'm supposed to be. Okay. Place me in front of some children and their parents, and I'm at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, New Horizon probably spends more time during our Sunday service allowing our children to participate and to sing and dance and the puppet ministry and all of those things than any church that I've ever gone to. It seems to be a real focus on children at New Horizon.
Absolutely, Socrates, and that's a credit to Bishop Crudup and his vision. Children they've always been important to him, and I don't mean just saying they are important, because if you're in that position, whether you mean it or not, you're going to say, well, yeah, the children are important.
Right.
But his actions speaks louder than his words.
Right.
He always placed the children as a priority.
Right.
And that's why we were one of the first black churches I know that had a paid youth path back in the day. So it was rest in peace, Pastor Henry Murphy, and he was over the youth. I was with the children. And some churches, Socrates, they will have children and youth together. But my wife and I, Gail, we work with the 5 to 12-year-olds. Then we have the 13-year-olds, and then there are 14 and above. So it's been exciting to just see our children grow. Now, I have children that come up through the ministry that are bringing their children in the ministry. So they're going through a second time around.
Wow.
Yes, I said, when these children start bringing children, it's time to go.
Well, Charles, I know that the New Horizon boasts of 100-member children's choir. Is that correct?
Well, the voices sounds like 200 when they get going,
Okay.
And the great thing about children singing, music is a universal language, and you're speaking volume to them when you give them that opportunity to be on stage. I can't tell you what you're doing for those little minds. And that's why I believe I know that's why you see the smaller ones, the big ones, whether their voice are capable of carrying a tune like, Whitney Houston or not, they're up there because it's important that they be up there.
Right.
Education doesn't start in the school. It continues in the school.
Okay.
But I like to say there are 4 villages.
All right.
And the first one is at home. And the second one is at church. The third one may be the schools, and the other one may be the community. But don't get it twisted. It should be home and church first.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Before.
Okay.
So when we place our children up there, that is part of their development. Mm-hmm. So I want to give a shout out to the parents who sacrifice to get the children there because they can't drive, so they see something in them. And that's what we want to encourage all churches to do, is to get your child involved early. Now, and the best way to do that is for you to get involved. Because when you model that behavior, then they will duplicate that behavior. So start early, continue, and watch the result.
Well, I notice sometimes on Sunday the children are so small, you have to put them on stools just so they can even see over the podium. And they read, and sometimes they lead in a prayer, and they're only 5, 6 years old. And it's emotional because they get thunderous applause, from the congregation watching those kids. And you always shepherd them, and if they stumble, you always there, and you got your arms around them, you're encouraging them. And so you're doing a wonderful job.
Well, thank you. When you present a child and you're with that child, that confidence level increases tremendously.
Okay.
It's like when, as they grow up and you're raising a child, you are so important to them in the beginning. But you have to have enough sense to know when to decrease and let Christ increase. Because if you always try and be there and not be the bridge, because technically, and the way I look at it, we are a bridge. Our job when we bring children into this world, and I look at my new arising children, my wife and I, as our children, our job is to present Jesus Christ to them. And the older that child becomes, the more knowledge they receive, the more we should decrease and the more Christ should be increasing. Because he's the one that's omnipotent and that's going to always be there in their present. Right. We're temporary and we're for a short period of time.
Right. They're so young. Do you think they grasp the concept of God and spirituality? Do you think they really understand?
Absolutely, positively, because it's not that they don't learn. It's just like they're learning to talk. They don't know they're speaking English. They're just duplicating what you're saying. Okay? So they learn to speak English if we're in America, because the way you speak.
Right.
They learn about Jesus because of the way we speak and the way we act and the way we teach.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So that scripture that I always heard in my times in church was, train a child up in the way he should go. He may go astray, may part, but he'll come back at some point.
Not only that, he'll have something in him to come back to. The problem is children can always stray. You have to remember, and this is the reason that I believe that a lot of parents have a hard time with children, is because they forget one thing. They strayed. So if you hadn't been perfect, don't expect them to be perfect. If you strayed away and you had to come and you came back, okay, be patient, be understanding, be loving, be long-suffering. These are the fruits of the Spirit that we're demonstrating because somebody did that for us. So when they stray, if you've done your teaching properly, and again, I said home, church before I said school.
Right.
Now they have something to come back to.
Wow. Let me ask you this. We're going to get into some tough conversations here tonight about children, and this foundation that you're laying out is really tremendously important. And yet, we are experiencing some trouble with our children across the country with behavior, mannerable, violence, and things of that nature. And many of us believe that there is a society breakdown that's occurring and that the children are really out of control. And I know that's a hard thing to deal with, but it's the way we look at it now, because so many crimes and some violent crimes are happening by such young children. I want you to think about that for a minute, Charles, and I want you to come back and try to share with our viewers, whether or not it's myth or whether or not we have some real issues and what it is we can do to try and turn things around. But hold that for just a moment. You're watching Socrates, Garrett Live here in Jackson, Mississippi, broadcasting in 139 countries all over the world. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and we're airing on Roku TV. So stay tuned for this commercial, and we'll be right back.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee. To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Welcome to the Adventurous Podcast. I'm your host, Deidre Perry, and these are my co-hosts. And weekly, we will be coming to you to bring you the latest information in the world of agriculture. We invite you to join us every Saturday from 10 to 10:30. Join us. Come on, take an adventure.
Well, we're back. And as I was saying or asking, is it real? Is it a myth? Are we experiencing something that's happening with our children that has got us all concerned? And what's your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, Socrates, that's an excellent question, and it's one that I struggle with daily because of the passion that I have for our children. And one of the things that's happening now, you got to think about this for a second. There is no GPS for parenting. You can't ask Siri, how do I deal with this problem with my child? No, you have to seek answers because we're not going to know it all. Mm-hmm. And that's why I said earlier about the 4 villages. But what is going on, Socrates, is for real. And the problem that I have with it is nobody's really doing anything that I can see that would really correct the problem. Okay? We're patching. And I have nothing wrong. I have nothing against, building gyms where children can play basketball or marching or doing all these things. I'm willing to do whatever. But the issues have to be dealt with. Otherwise, they will continue. Mm-hmm. And as politicians are running for elections, and I'm not speaking anything against any of the politicians, but when they hug our children and kiss our babies for an election, and then they get in office in our schools, the air conditioning don't work, the teachers are underpaid. Well, things are not lining up the way that they should. Mm-hmm. But first, and let's just make it clear, the mayor of this great city or the governor of this state can't handle the things that are taking place at home. We have to go back to the real issue, and that's at home. Now, I may not know how, but I'm a prideful parent, and I don't want to ask. My child is going through some things. I don't know what to do. Mm. And he's acting out. And he's not getting what they need, whether it's a he or a she. So how do I deal with that? How do I handle that? Because here's the issue. I like to use 3 letters. And it's F-E-W, few, because there are few people who are able to do it without some help. But the F is for we're failing our children early. E, we expecting miracles when they're older. W is without the miracle maker. I think we got to introduce Jesus Christ or whoever you believe your creator is, so that we can have some moral grounds established at home. But in my book, 7 Steps to Raising Amazing Children, the first chapter is the key. In that chapter, I say you have to figure out, before you start trying to raise a family, before you start trying to lead a child, you got to figure out who's influencing you. Because whoever is influencing you, they are influencing your family as well.
Wow.
So you have to figure that out. So if you get that right, now you're headed in the right direction, and you can start accomplishing some things.
Okay.
But when you're being influenced, and you've been in business a while like I have, if we were to try to describe the word leadership with one word, we would have to go with influence, because leadership is about influencing. And my friend, if we're not influencing folks at our own home, somebody else is. And if we don't know who's influencing us, whoever it is that's influencing us, that's who's influencing our family. So we got to get some things in order first.
Okay.
To stop this, okay? Now, specifically on the idea of across the world, not just Jackson, Mississippi, but across this country. Let's say if you have a 5-year-old at the house, and you have a 25-year-old in the street doing all kind of stuff. And the only thing you're going to tell that 5-year-old, you're not going to be like your siblings, that 25-year-old. That's all you got to say. Because I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen. But you don't know how. And the court system, they're trying to correct the 25-year-old and neglecting everything that needs to be done with the 5-year-old. I mean, you look at the reading proficiency in our state and across this. I mean, it's unbelievable. So we have to be intentional about, first of all, creating a setting that's going to be conducive to learning, education, fun. We have to rise up to the occasion. Children are more creative now. Can we be creative? Can we not say we're going to do the same thing that was done 40 years ago? Can we have somebody that say our schools have to be priority? I mean, there's no exception when it comes to children. When businesses decide to come to a particular state, that's one of the things they're going to look at, like the school system, because my child's going to have to be educated, right? And so I got to make sure that's right. If that's important to the business people who are coming into your state and you want that, it should be important whether somebody's coming here or not, because that's our future.
Right.
That's the thing that bothers me when I look at this whole situation. You got the 5-year-old that's being neglected because now this is where the village can be the courthouse, can be the governor, can be the elected official. They got to be doing things that's going to enhance the young children. They have to. And then you got to work on the 25-year-old. I get that. But you can't just work on the 25-year-old and forget about the 5-year-old and don't think that the 5-year-old, because I don't care what you say, what that parent say, okay, it's what's being modeled. It's going to catch that child's attention and stick with that child. I like to say that if your conversation, your advice to the child is behind what you're modeling to the child, and the child will not hear your advice because of what you are modeling.
So you can't say do as I say, not as I do. That won't work anymore. Huh?
That's catching up with the time. No, you can't do that. You and I have come from a time where that was said, right? And I mentioned that in my book.
Okay.
Because it's being duplicated today.
Okay.
But we can't do that. I mean, every child wants to feel important.
Mm-hmm.
That's why on the fourth Sunday, I appreciate Bishop for allowing us to bring children up, and then the parents, the grandparents, everybody is watching, right? Mm-hmm. And the child will never forget that. That's modeling good behavior.
Okay. I get
and
it.
we got to do that.
I get it.
Everywhere we go.
Okay. Let me ask you this, Charles. I want to talk about your book a little bit. I want to understand and let our viewership understand where they can get the book, what passion you have in writing the book, and the value that it'll bring. So we're going to get into that in just a second, but I want to ask you a question or two. How long do we have with a child before it's almost too late to reach them? I mean, it seems to me that children, when they go in the 9th grade, that's 12, 13 years old, whatever, they become different people than I knew when they were 7, 8 years old. When they start transitioning into puberty, it seems as if they just get harder to deal with. How long do we have to influence a child in a way to give them a sound foundation?
That's an absolutely great question. But let me just say this. A child mind is like, and I'm going to use it as the soil. It's rich. Okay. And as a farmer, they know whatever you plant in that rich soil will grow. You see, the land doesn't care what you plant, but it will return what you plant. With our children, that their minds are even richer than any soil. They don't care what you plant, but they will return what you plant.
Wow.
Now listen, I really want to address this because this age group, one of the biggest problems that we have, we're trying to make our children our friends and different things like that, right? There's like 4 different stages, and you have to be careful with these stages. Like, for an example, if from 0 to 5, that is a discipline stage. This is where you are guiding, directing with what the child should do with discipline.
Wow.
Okay?
Even the terrible twos.
Exactly.
You have the discipline.
You're placing disciplines in place. Now, fail that particular age group, then you got to try and deal with something else. Now, from 0 to 5, that's going to be discipline. From let's say from 5 to 12, this is where you're going to be training, okay? Because you've done what you're supposed to have done. So now you're going to focus on training the child the way that they should go so they won't depart from it, right?
Okay.
And then from 12 to 18, trying to be a child's friend at that age, just because they can dress and you can dress alike, you can do all that stuff, fine. I don't care about all of that. But this is where you ought to be coaching your child. Now, you know how important coaches are. I mean, that's why, and this is a whole different subject, this is why I don't understand how teachers can be underpaid, coaches can be underpaid when they're some of the most important people in our life, and legislators can make more. That's a whole different story. Right. But you understand, I remember my coaches and my teachers' name. I can't tell you who's the legislators a year or two ago. I can't tell you that. No. These are the people that are important. So, but we take on that first coaching role. You see.
Okay. And this is 12 to 18.
12 to 18.
Okay. And that's the age where everybody shies away from them at that point right there. 12 to 18, quite frankly, can be as rowdy a group as you ever wanted to encounter. I mean, I watched them at the skating ring from 12 to 18, 13, 14. That's a difficult age.
Yeah, it depends on what's been planted in the soil.
Okay.
You see,
Okay.
we're more in control than we think.
Okay.
You see, we have to figure this thing out. Now, from 18 and above, now you can have a friendship.
Okay.
Because you can't do it if you hadn't done anything. If you hadn't done anything by now,
Right.
listen. Whatever they want to do, they're gonna do it. So you can use your friendship because you did the discipline when you were supposed to. You done your training when you were supposed to. You were a coach when you were supposed to. Now I've earned the right to sit and talk to you as a young adult, as a friend to friend.
Wow.
Right?
Wow. Very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Very important.
You know, you bring back memories for me when I think about my childhood growing up, and my father would always give me direction and guidance, etc. But when I graduated from college, I came to him and I asked him for some advice on something. He gave it to me. I disagreed with his advice, and he looked at me and he said, "Well, why don't you do it your way, and let's see how that works out for you."
Yes.
He no longer gave me any advice
Yes.
beyond that point.
Yes.
He said, "Okay, do it your way, and let's see how that works out." And I thought at that point he had divorced me in some way, and that really was not a good feeling at all. Stay tuned right here with me, Charles. We're going to get ready to go to a commercial break. Once again, my guest is Charles Smith, author, 7 Steps to Raising Amazing Children. And we're going to bring him back to you for the rest of the evening and talk about this very important subject. Stay tuned for this word from our sponsors.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now. Welcome to the Adventurous Podcast. I'm your host, Deidre Perry, and these are my co-hosts. And weekly, we will be coming to you to bring you the latest information in the world of agriculture. We invite you to join us every Saturday from 10 to 10:30. Join us. Come on, take an adventure.
We're back with our guest, Charles Smith, the author of 7 Steps to Raising Amazing Children. Charles, tell us a little bit about the book and your inspiration for writing. How long did it take you to do it? Where can the viewers get the book and things of that nature?
Okay, so first of all, I'll start with the end question. The book can be purchased from Amazon, Walmart, Target, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, eBay, wherever you buy books from. This book is there.
Okay.
Now, the book was inspired. You know, I've always worked with children, and I'll just tell you, Socrates, that me writing a book about parenting, I didn't feel like that was my thing to do. Because now, tell me to write one on children, and I'm good. Mm-hmm. So I took a writing class because I knew I really wanted to write a book about the insurance business and the struggles that I had to go through since 1979. I mean, I got some good stories, right? So I'm in this writing class, and then about halfway through the class, God was just nudging me that this is not what I'm supposed to be writing on, not what I'm supposed to be writing on. And so I finally went up to the teacher and said, "Listen, I'm going to have to start over." She said, "Well, why?" I said, "Well, Lord, the Lord is telling me that I need to do something right on parenting." And I said it in a way like, I don't know why he wanted me to do it, but this is, so I'm going to just do what he say do. That's how I ended up writing the book on parenting. Okay. And I remember talking to the Lord saying, you know, first of all, I work with children. Parents not going to listen to me. And I could just hear him say, they won't be listening to you. And when I read the reviews on Amazon, I understand exactly what he's saying. You know, the reviews that we've gotten back from the book. And I was motivated to write a book, and I understand it now of why this book come to fruition. Mm-hmm. I watched my mom as a single parent, as a young black man, grow up in poverty. And there are a lot of single women who are just making it. And my mom, I had 3 brothers and 3 sisters, and she did it all. And some of the things that she did, they were incredible. I mean, things like listening to me. Unheard of. I mean, think about it in a lot of households today. A child don't have a voice. Even if what you say is not meaningful, everybody wants to be heard and valued. So I watched her do that and take some of my advice. And she told me one time that you can learn from anybody, even a child. She was talking about me. I didn't ever forget that. Okay. So I just started treating my children that way. I listened to them. And so what God was telling me to do was write your story. I was thinking he was telling me to write a book on parenting, and I didn't totally get it. But this book is on parenting, but it's my story. Okay. And so toward the end of the class, I discovered, I think it was a teacher said, you know what you ought to do? You ought to get your daughters. I wish I could take credit for it, but because I have 4 daughters. She said, you know, I think that's a great idea. She was more excited about what God was telling me to do than I was excited about what God was telling me to do, because I want to tell everybody about this business.
Yeah. Well, you spend a lot of time in the insurance business, but you're fighting that struggle.
Yes. Yeah. And so she said, you ought to have your daughters to write a letter. And man, I thought that's a good idea. There are letters from each one of my daughters on how I influenced their life. Now, the very first chapter is who's influencing you. Okay? So I sent them an email. I said, and neither one of them knew what the other one was going to say.
Okay. Interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And some of the same things that they said, each of them impacted them, just like what my mom had done and said impacted me. So, a good example. We had a donut day, just set aside. I just wanted to spend time with them, donut day. So every Thursday, I believe it was donut day. The kids would get excited. You know, tomorrow's donut day. So on Wednesday, they would try and go to bed early, like the night was going to pass faster or whatever, because it was donut day. Guess what they're doing with their children now? That's right, they have a donut day.
Having donut
so
day.
This is modeling things and duplicating what you see.
Right.
Okay, so even when we teach our children to talk, see, the little things matter the most, but we don't do the little things. But yet, when they grow older, we expect the very best. Well, listen, if it's not in them,
in that soil, you speak.
If it's not in that soil,
yeah, you didn't.
You didn't plant it.
Right. You can't come back to it.
You can't come back to it.
Wow.
I remember one time, and I tell this story in the book. I remember my daughters. And this shows about the village, when they got to be teenagers or in Mr. Murphy's class, he would say something, and they would bring it back home to me. Yeah, Mr. Murphy, Rev Murphy said, you know, this and this and that. I would be thinking, I've been saying that for years.
Right.
So I didn't burst the bubble. That's not the thing to do. I said, okay, that's good.
Right,
you know?
Right.
And so I got in my mind, I'm going to go and talk to Pastor Murphy. See what else I need to do to make sure they can get what I'm saying.
What you're saying.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't even come from a third party, right? And I remember having this conversation with him. And he brought out something to me. He said, you know, when Henry, which was his son, little Henry, was in my class, I was teaching his child, and he was teaching my children, the ones that was, he said, Henry always brings stuff home to me telling me he can't get that song out of his head that I taught him, you know? And he said, Charles, you don't need to do anything different. He said, sometimes they just need to hear it from a third party, although you've said it so many times. If they hear it from somebody else in a different way, they'll get it. So it really don't matter how they get it. It's just that they get it.
Right.
That's where that village come in.
Right.
So you have to be connected. So that's why I said when I talk about the four villages, I put home first. I was doing my due diligence.
Right.
You got to put church second. There's a second village because you got to have them connected. You know.
So, but it takes a pretty mature adult to seek advice from a peer on how to reach my own child or how to reaffirm that maturity level. Nowadays, it seems that parents more offensive toward others' involvement in their child. That's why they rush to schools acting crazy when their child has been disciplined or things of that nature. So is the society changing that much, or do you think you were just a mature adult, or is that the norm? Do a lot of people do that?
No, it's because they don't know who's influencing them. You see, you got to go, if you go back to the very first step here, who's influencing me? So if I'm connected to a church base, and again, I don't care if I believe in Jesus Christ. I don't care who you believe, but if you believe that somebody created you, okay, fine. That's fine. I'm just saying, if you are doing the things that you should be doing so that you can become a better leader, right? And understanding what is being said in the word, because you got to be in, because you're modeling it now. One of the reasons I love praying right now, Socrates, is because I saw my mom praying. She would get on her knees and she'd just be praying out loud, and she's praying for calling us all by name. And you know, and I tell this story in my book. You know, 7 Steps to Raising Amazing Children. I say, and I told Mom, I said, Mom, you don't need to spend as much time praying for me. You can give Sonny and Mine, because they're the ones getting in trouble. They're doing all this other stuff. I'm the good child. Right. She seemed to start praying for me even longer. I didn't get it.
She says you're not going to lose that one. That's for sure. Well, let me ask you this. We talked a lot about your daughters. I have daughters, and I have a son, and they're different. What's your experience with raising girls versus boys?
Well, and I love that question, because I tell people all the time, my mom raised me.
Okay.
Female, black child, that she modeled something in front of me that I duplicate today. And that's why there is a book. Okay. So they may be different, the way that they grow, they do things, but you have to plant different things. But you are the one that's in control of what you plant. You see, 0 to 5, you can't just always be, you know, tickling googie. No, you have to have a plan. You have to be intentional. I'll give you a good example. Serena and Venus Williams. Mr. Williams had a plan. Okay? Beyonce. Parents had a plan. Tiger Woods. Listen, it doesn't have to be sport. They are more valuable than the Williams sisters or Tiger Woods. We have to be just that intentional. We have to come with a plan. You can't, at this day and time, you just can't show up. What if you had a major speaking engagement and it was going to determine whether you kept your job or got a promotion? How much would you plan? What about when you get ready to go on vacation for 5 days out of the country? How much do you plan? Okay, here's a simple question. How much planning do we do when it comes to raising our children?
Wow. Day by day.
Day by day. Wow. What come, what may.
Right.
That's why we have what we have. I heard yesterday, last week, and it really blew me away when I heard this. I work closely with an author. She's a children's author, and she sent a book home, or her mom sent a book home with one of the little girls at the school that she teaches at, and the parent, and they're 6 years old. The parent sent the book back and said, "My child, she can't read." Now, there's a lot tied into that, but here's one thing: when they're going to start, when you're going to start with, you can read to them. They don't have to read. They speak English because they heard somebody else speaking English, right? This tells me you're waiting until they can get in school. That's the wrong thing to do.
Wow.
Because our systems are not set up to help us to succeed if that's what you're going to wait on.
Wow. What do you say to folk that say that children can even learn in the womb? Is there any merit to that? I mean, what's your thoughts?
I mean, Jeremiah, I think it's 5:4. God said, "I knew you while you were yet in your mother's womb." I would absolutely go along with reading to them, talking to them. I mean, you're talking about something live,
right?
Okay, and that's what we have to value. That we're talking about a live human being. Okay? And here's what I want to say. Your words matter when you're talking to your child. And this is, I can't tell you how many, I don't know the statistic, but there's a whole bunch. A lot of children are on the streets early because they can't wait to get out the house. So your words are going to be doing one or two things, Socrates. They're going to be pushing or they're going to be pulling. And if they're pushing, you're going to get shut down early and they're going to get out as soon as they can. And then somebody else is going to be pulling.
Wow.
So we have to be careful with the words that we speak. So starting in the womb, absolutely. So, hollering and yelling and cursing, and you're modeling what they want to do.
Right. Hold that point. You're here with Socrates, Garrett Live. We're broadcasting all over the world. Our guest is Charles Smith. Stay tuned for this commercial.
You had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee. To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Welcome to the Adventurous Podcast. I'm your host, Deidre Perry, and these are my co-hosts. And weekly, we will be coming to you to bring you the latest information in the world of agriculture. We invite you to join us every Saturday from 10 to 10:30. Join us. Come on, take an adventure.
We're back. Our guest is Charles Smith, the author of 7 Steps to Raising Amazing Children. We've had an interesting discussion on the subject of children, and Charles' experience and his wisdom and his vision for writing this book is tremendously important. And I hope that our school superintendents all across the country, all of our Head Start agencies all across the world will take a look at this book and what it could mean in assisting teachers to relate to the children. The children are tremendously different today than they were 40 years ago. There's so much more information out there and so many more opportunities for them to get the wrong information. There was one TV in the community when I was a little boy and we gathered around. So I didn't get a lot of influences, Charles, as you're talking about. my influence pretty much came from family. But nowadays, the influence on our children is coming from so many different directions. So it's critically important that you get this book, 7 Steps to Raising Amazing Children. And Charles is going to tell us how you get this book, and we're going to come back, and I want to ask you to speak on the impacts of gangs and violence in our community and how it seems to be dealing with our children at a disproportionate rate. So tell us a little bit about the book again and where we can get it and things of that nature.
Again, 7 Steps to Raising Amazing Children can be such a blessing. It could be purchased at online at Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Target, you name it. They have seen fit to carry this book.
Wonderful.
So I'm excited that it's available all over the country.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yes.
And I know that you guys are getting this all over the world. And so this is a book, this is a must-buy. 7 Steps to Raising Amazing Children. It's a must-buy. So go to one of those outlets and purchase this book. Let's support and encourage our leaders to be involved with our children, to be able to trust our children in the hands of good, common, decent, capable people is tremendously important. And at New Horizon Church, we have a 100-member children's choir, and all of those children are being shepherded and guided by a competent, loving person, and that's critically important. And you have to have something to go by. Like the Bible, we have to have the scripture that we can refer to. You have to have a book that you can refer to for ideas and concepts. Charles, I want to talk to you a little bit about something that's bothered me a little bit, and that is the impact of gangs on our young children. Now, I understand the pushing and pulling, where the opportunity comes, and how does a parent know when there's something going on here? We have so many mass shooting, crazy things happening, and parents don't know what's in their children's room, what they're looking at, and what are some of the signs that our parents should be looking for?
So great, Socrates. So one of the things that I mentioned in this book, I learned it from my mom. How can you raise a child if you don't know a child? I mean, wow. Think about that for a minute.
Wow.
Right? I am bringing up a child. They're now 18, 15, whatever, and I don't even know them. TikTok know more about them than I know. There's the issue, okay? Because now, and let's talk about it the way that it is. There are a lot of parents who are having to make things happen, working 2 jobs or doing all these other things, not having proper daycare. So this is where the community needs to come in, even ask the government to make sure that our people have proper daycare and things like that, okay? But I want to deal with those who may have young children now before they get into these games, okay? So first of all, if your child is 0 to 5 or 5 to 12, there's some of the things that you need to be doing, and that is building a relationship with your child, okay? And what I mean by a relationship, the child know you, and you're not acting like you all holy and roly, because they're gonna find you out later on. So you need to be upfront and for real with them, okay? Stop acting like you haven't made any mistakes in life. Okay, be open and honest. Start telling them about the mistakes that you make. Expect the best from them. I don't care what they have done. You are their parents. You got to always expect the best. I remember I was at an elders meeting, and I called a house during a break, and my daughter answered the phone. One of my daughters answered the phone. Well, she was on punishment. So I said, hey, why are you answering the phone? Well, I was standing right by it, Dad. Well, don't answer the phone. Remember, you don't supposed to answer the phone. So I hung the phone up. As a parent, I called her, dialed the number right back. She said, hello. I said, wait, why did you answer the phone?
Right.
Well, Dad, why'd you call me? I said, you don't supposed to answer the phone. Right. So I hung the phone up, and one of the other members asked me, he said, Charles, do you really expect your child to be obedient when you're not there? I looked at him crazy. I said, absolutely, positively. I'm going to always expect the best until they prove me otherwise. Right. Okay? When I had rules at the house, and this is how you avoid the games altogether. But if there was rules in my house, the rules was for all of us. If they couldn't sit in a chair one way, I couldn't sit in the chair one way.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it wasn't I'm the big hero, because you think about it, how we are pushing so many of them away. We are grown, we are adults, our voices are thicker and louder, and we're hovering over them, and we're literally threatening them, even with our action, if not our words. And it's even worse if we're threatening them with our action and our words, right? And then we expect them to be okay. You have a lot of mental issues. So when children are looking for somebody to talk to them in the right way, my children have always been called sweetie and things like that. I never call them out of their name. Never. Why would I? First of all, we got to realize they are a gift from God. And how do we treat our precious gift? Okay, so the game starts because they know how to treat you. Now, it's wrong because they're manipulative, but they're treating you like you want to be treated. So some of your most intelligent, when I say intelligent, in books, smart children get caught up into games. And one of the reasons is not that they wasn't smart in school, but one of the reasons is they wasn't treated right at home. Yeah, we talk about all the stuff that I've done for you, and you gonna go out and do stuff like this. I paid the house note. I buy food on it. That stuff don't matter to them. You have to get down to their level. I used to say if my children was in the tree, I was in the tree. What I meant by that was whatever they were going through, I was going through. Their little problems at school was big in my eyes. I didn't come home and say, listen, this stuff you're going through at school, I had to listen to what I had to go through at work. No. So you have to get down on their level, be with them as they express themselves, and you listen. You're not going to always want to, Socrates.
No, it's been a hard day.
It's been a hard day. But it will pay you big rewards if you start building that relationship of listening, because they'll start coming to you more. But when you are not listening, they're going to stop coming to you, but they have not stopped talking. They just are not talking to you.
Wow.
This is where gang members come in.
The door is now open for a different set of influences.
And who opened the door?
I guess we as parents did.
Absolutely. Most of it start right with us. And the parents a lot of times don't know. And that's why I want to have different classes. I want to do everything that we can do. That's why this book, I understand now why God had me to write this book. There are folk who've said they blame me for their children because I should have wrote this book 40 years ago. But my point is, I see now why this book come to fruition.
Wow.
Because these are the kind of things that will keep our children from going out to be with people that we can't reasonably think that they would be out with.
Wow.
But here's a real good example. I had a young lady, she came to me for counseling. She came to me for counseling one time. She didn't come back because I never will forget her children's boy and a girl. She said, these are some ungrateful little wretch. I took them to Jackson State game, I bought them hot dogs, paid for tickets, bought drinks for them, and now they acting all like this. Wow. I looked at her and I said, they would have been good going to the park as long as you were there. You see, children spell love, Time. The game was for you. She didn't ask me for it anymore.
No.
I didn't say what she wanted me to say.
No, that's a real indictment.
Yes.
And probably rightfully placed for a lot of us.
Yes.
Because time is such a precious element. And finding it for all of those, you got lots of children, and trying to find time to reach all of them, and then the rest of the family, and all of the things that's put on you from day to day. It's hard, y'all.
Absolutely hard. And this is why we end up where we are, because, you know, the things that are hard always make us better. And it gets easier because we're only talking about 17, 18 years here.
Okay.
So on birthdays, my daughters, I took them out. As they got older, I mean, we dressed up, put on their clean Sunday, go to the meeting dresses and stuff like that. And we went to the University Club. Remember University Club, a nice place, and we sat down, and it was just her and I. And they played birthday song, but when they got older, I knew I wasn't the only one that was important to them, so I started allowing them to invite a friend. Now that was doing two things. First of all, it was allowing me to see who they were close to. Sneaky, but real cool, right?
Right.
Because I was a cool dad for doing it.
Right.
Now, I had other intentions I needed to see, right?
Right.
But it also allowed them to trust me enough to let them know I was trusting them. You can't replace trust. You see, we look at children as insignificant. And when I say that, I mean when it comes to value, because they don't bring any value to the bills, to the food, all these different things like that.
No, it's always they need. They give me
exactly.
You know, it's a challenge. It's a real challenge.
It's a real challenge.
Yeah. So you know, Charles, I think this subject is so important, especially in this climate, because we're losing our children.
Yes.
They're shooting themselves in the streets.
Yes.
We're losing our children, and it's critically important that folk like yourself that work with children have a passion for it and the patience for it, that you get the word out. So I want to thank you for being my guest here this evening. I want you to tell the viewerships where they can get this book one last time.
Okay, so the 7 Steps to Raising Amazing Children can be purchased at Walmart, Target, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, eBay, all the different places where you can buy books. You can go online and order it. You can get hard copies or you can get paperback.
I want to thank Charles for coming and sharing with us tonight. Our show is coming to an end tonight, so until next Tuesday, this is Socrates, Garrett Live, signing off.
Live every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. on WeBelieveDigital.com. Socrates talks politics, finances, and social issues that affect the Black community and so much more. Phenomenal guests and engaging conversation. Straight talk, no nonsense topics that are informative, educational, and inspiring. Socrates goes live with politicians, church leaders, business owners, and others. The time is now, talking to you about us. Socrates Garrett Live every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. on WeBelieveDigital.com.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection. giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.